2016 marks the 51st anniversary of a light aircraft crash in the Car Kloof that tragically killed three of Hind Brothers' top staff. Philip Hind, managing director aged 51, together with his newly appointed chief chemist, Dr. Binky Lawrence, technical controller, Mr. Stan Burgess, and the pilot, Vernon Stain. This accident was devastating, not only to the company but also to us, his family. Philip Hind was our dad, and as the last generation to fully appreciate the impact these men made to society, we thought it is imperative that his story and achievements are not forgotten. Of the many sayings he lived by, his favourite was, "I shall pass through this world but once. Any good thing or any kindness that I can do to any human being, let me do it now. Let me not defer it nor neglect it, for I shall not pass this way again." He lived life determining that his left hand was not to know what his right hand was doing. Only after his death did the family see a glimpse of all the good he had done in his lifetime.
The history of Hind Brothers started way back in 1896. In that year, Philip's father, William Hind, opened a small bakery in Greyville, Durban. He took a chemistry course and developed a baby food from sorghum corn called Nutrien, which was used to rear hundreds of thousands of babies for almost 60 years. By 1919, the business had grown to include mortadella, mayonnaise, custard powder, spices, to name a few. And he purchased a 14-acre site in Umbilo and established his new factory in beautiful, spacious gardens. At the end of 1930, Philip left Kearsley College at the age of 16 after failing Standard 8, today's grade 10, and entered the business, starting at the very bottom and working his way up through each section of the factory. This gave him intimate knowledge of the whole business, which stood him in good stead when his father died of leukemia.
At 20, Dad became managing director of Hind Brothers, and under his directorship became one of South Africa's leading food manufacturing companies, producing all general foods products in South Africa. In 1937, Dr. Fox, who was the head of South Africa Institute of Medical Research, approached Philip and asked if he couldn't develop a low-cost, nutritious baby food to combat the devastating deaths of malnutrition. It was a challenge that Philip couldn't resist. It bristled with difficulties, but it appealed to his humanity. Its acceptance was to have a profound effect on the destiny of the company. Like his father, Philip was a practical idealist, deeply aware of the need for producing low-cost, highly nutritious foods for South Africa's masses. His idealism found practical expression in the development of ProNutro, which played a dramatic role in South Africa's war on malnutrition. Philip asked his chief chemist at the time, Swiss-born Dr. Wahlberger, who was equally as passionate to combat malnutrition as Philip was, to formulate a balanced, nutritious food that would be pre-cooked and acceptable to all racial groups, low in cost, and comparable as far as the protein status was concerned. For the next 25 years, our unsung hero, Dr. Wahlberger, worked on perfecting the formula.
John, you'll remember this as a result of you working at Hind Brothers. In the 60s, market research wasn't very sophisticated, but basic trials were done to test the benefits of ProNutro as a supplemented diet. At that time, in the early 60s, the mortality rate was 27%, which was 270 babies out of every 1,000 died as a result of malnourishment. Tests were done on 1,200 children, adding 56 grams of ProNutro to their basic maize and mealie meal diet. The result of this was that not one person died of malnutrition, and most of those doubled their average weight gain over the period under review. As a result of these tests that they did, these trials that they did, Cooper Garney, a government subsidized retail outlet, commenced buying ProNutro in bulk from Hind Brothers and supplying these to the underprivileged population in the Durban and Natal area. Unfortunately, the tax grants that the government gave were withdrawn in the 80s, and Kupagani was forced to close.
In 1962, after 25 years of hard work and an estimated cost of 75,000 rand, which in today's economic value, this amount would reach close to 10 million rand, Hind Brothers had achieved their objective and ProNutro was officially launched. In January 1965, 2 months before he died, Philip and Dr. Wahlberger were invited to speak at the World Health Organization. Their report afterwards was, "We know of no comparable pre-cooked food in the world, or of any company who has gone to such lengths and expense to produce this type of food." This outstanding South African breakthrough in the nutritional field was expected to play a vitally important part in saving many lives in Africa and elsewhere in the world.
The opening of the Philip Hind factory in Wadeville, Johannesburg, opened a new chapter in the history of the company that began in a small kitchen in Durban in 1896. The control panel of the now fully automated operation was an electronic masterpiece of interlocked microswitches. The main raw materials used in making ProNutro were of South African origin. It also marked a new phase in the war against hunger. The mass production of a high-protein, low-cost food, which helped to avert disaster in South Africa during those devastating droughts of the early 60s. The opening of the Philip Hind factory in Wadeville took place after his death, where our mum made a speech in his honor. And this is an excerpt of her speech.
As I unveil this picture of my very dear husband, I want to tell you a little bit about him and his philosophy of life, and in particular, business life. You know, sometimes the truly humble are the truly great. They're natural leaders and are nature's gentlemen. My husband, Phil Hind, was one of those rare people. He radiated sheer magic with his warm and vital personality, his genuine humility, his deep concern for those less fortunate than himself, and his desire to bring pleasure into people's lives. In all the years I shared with him, his passion was to leave the world a better place than he found it, and with the development of ProNutro, we may find that he achieved even more than he envisaged. Oh, look, here's a cutting from the Mercury on the 9th of March, 1965.
Mr. Philip Hind, a man who gave the chance of life to millions, died tragically yesterday with 2 of his technicians and the pilot and Durban, Natal, South Africa, and indeed the world are the poorer. Mr. Philip Hind was the kind of man men make their dreams of. Bottle washer when he left school, managing director of the family business by the time he was 20, and the kind of man able to translate his dreams into reality. He will be remembered for many things, not the least which was his pioneering chairmanship of the local Bantu Wages and Productivity Association, which has fought many battles behind the scenes for better pay for Africans. But the lasting monument to Philip Hind will come in pink paper packets. It looks like breadcrumbs. It has no particular taste, but it is a lifesaver. ProNutro.
Philip was 51. He achieved so much, but still had so much to offer. He was chairman of Kersney College, Epworth School, McCord's Zulu Hospital, Ilovo Sugar, and more. After his death, he received many awards, civic honours from the city of Durban for outstanding service to the community, which was usually only given to older men. Rotary Club's Wheel of Service Award. He was named one of the Mercury newspaper's Men of the Year. 51 years later, we honour him. 51 at 51. May his life that was cut so short motivate us to leave this world a better place than we found it. Carpe diem. Seize the opportunity.